we're going to talk about the debate.
I'm in for the debate. I thought it went pretty well. It went pretty well for both, actually. Some people got to hear them, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was a lot of the, the conservative pundits and whatnot, the Republicans were, and even Trump's campaign were kind of, they're going to mute the mics and da-da-da. I thought that actually abounded to Trump's advantage. Because I thought that was his biggest, that was what was so unappealing about him in the first debate was his just unmitigated, rampage through the whole debate, interrupting and, just generally being a jerk. And when he was prevented from doing that, then obviously they coached him differently. And I thought it helped him.
Yeah.
To kind of have those kind of constraints. So.
Well, I think so too, and I think it helped the viewing public to keep track of it. Nobody wants to bully, trying to just beat on somebody. That just doesn't work,
No, not at all. And I don't know. Yeah, it's weird though. It seems like the last three, whatever you want to call them, midterm presidential debates, so the election for the second term of the president. Well,
right.
I would even say going back all the way back to the last three for sure. But I even remember back Clinton in his first debate, he wasn't bad, but he wasn't spectacular either in his first debate against Dole. Mm-hmm. And then George H.W. Bush was awful, real in his first debate, and he wasn't great in the other debates either, but he was terrible in the first one. So this kind of seems to be like a trend that the incumbent president in Obama, everybody thought, oh man, Romney's gonna win this thing after the first debate between he and Obama. I thought, whoa, what the heck is going on here? I kind of thought, well, Romney's got all the answers and Obama doesn't have any of the answers, and that's why. But then in that second and third debate, and really even the vice presidential debate in that election cycle made a difference, where Biden just tore poor little Paul Ryan to bits in that vice presidential debate. So and again, it's kind of always the ongoing, well, do the debates really matter and that sort of thing. I mean, they matter to me a great deal, but and I think they matter marginally. So if you got a tight election, then you're looking at if you can change a few minds here and there in a few key areas, it might make a difference, even though it's not going to make a broad sweeping difference. Yeah. So it's strange. Because that's kind of my analysis of it, is that Trump I would blame Trump and Chris Wallace for conducting the worst presidential debate ever in that first debate. Biden was just kind of a bystander watching the accident happen.
Because I don't think this particular debate didn't mean a whole lot.
Yeah.
The polarization that we've got going on right now across our society, I think people have already made up their minds. They made up their mind a long time ago. They're doing laps around the 275 here in Cincinnati again this morning with the Trump train and all that kind of stuff with flags flying and everything. Supposedly silent majority. It seems like they're kind of the loud minority, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But have you voted already?
No, I'm going to wait till Election Day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I took
debate, so the day before.
Yeah, I voted early last time, but I took the day off this time, so Jen and I could go vote together and whatnot. So I'm gonna wait till the day of. But as far as my I think you're absolutely right about the idea that you're not going to get a lot of minds changed in a debate. No. So if you've got somebody clearly running away with an election, a debate isn't going to make that much of a difference. Now that's a whole other subset of this whole issue is Biden running away with the election? Nationally, the numbers might suggest that. Mm-hmm. The polls are tightening in the Sun Belt states, where Sun Belt states look pretty even. Rust Belt states, it's interesting, getting more interesting in Pennsylvania. So that's where a debate like this might actually have some bearing in a state like Pennsylvania, where fracking in Western Pennsylvania has really revitalized their economy, and you've got Biden, not quite sure where he's at with the fracking industry and what his game plan is. So at any rate,
well, I think he's pretty clear. But anyway, that's down the list of all the subjects. That was almost at the end there with all the subjects.
Yeah.
Talked about.
Well, right. Yeah. So maybe a lot of people would have tuned out, but at the same time, the other thing in this day and time that can be dangerous about these debates late, especially in a tight race, is now you've got Biden talking about dismantling the petroleum industry.
I don't think that's the word he used. I think he used the word.
No, it's not. It's not the word he used, but phasing it out. However, whatever euphemisms you want to put. He wants, he wants to move completely away from fossil fuels to renewable energy. Right? That's his plan.
Don't we all? Really? Don't we all want to do that? I mean, that's just normal. I mean, we want to go to a cleaner environment. We don't want to deal with all that. I mean, I drive an electric car, so
sure.
I won't go back to a gas car because the electric car is just more convenient. It's cost effective. I mean, all the way around, it's just a better car all the way around. So it'd be real difficult for me to go there. I mean, it could take a lot of people to transition to those electric cars. I know you drive a truck. It's going to be a while till we have electric trucks that are going to do what an over-the-road driver needs to do. But it's all part of that whole transition. And even oil companies are transitioning. If you go look at Shell or Exxon or anybody else that's out there, and you look at their websites, all they talk about is green, and some of it's just flapping gums. But the other part of it is they're looking out for themselves. How are they to be part of this new green economy, right?
Right. Well, so I think that that alternative sources of energy are, if Peterbilt puts together an electric truck that tops any diesel version they've ever put out, I'm completely game for that.
Yeah.
The problem with it is we're just not there yet. Infrastructurally, I mean, you can't just go anywhere and charge that electric car. You have to have a special.
I don't use it like that anyway. I've got a gas car, but we don't do a lot of trips in the car. I mean, we use it for commuting around town and that. So I've only charged it a couple of times at grocery stores. Other than that, it gets charged at home every night. I just plug it in when I come home and it's ready to go the next day. And I got another 150 plus miles to go. So, it just doesn't burn down. So if you look at most of the driving, I mean, like I know that you drive professionally, but if you take your professional driving part out of that and you look at all the other driving that you and your family do, it's not out of the range of an electric car, even within a day's driving or whatever,
Sure. Right. Well, yeah. So so it's developing, but it's just not quite there yet. And I think that's where I wonder if Biden's language, his approach to this issue, to talk about how, look, what people worry about is a couple things. I think one is, so as an illustration of this, just take nuclear power, for example. Nuclear power is the cleanest, safest, most efficient form of energy that's available on the planet. But yet, what's that?
Yes, to produce it. That's right.
Yeah. So, but the overwhelming majority of environmental groups and the Democratic platform has generally been against nuclear. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then you go, wait a second. If we're looking for a safer, more reliable, cleaner form of energy to produce electricity versus coal, say, why wouldn't we go nuclear? What's behind that agenda? What's really going on here? Why are we trying to move toward these cleaner forms of fuel? Is it really to preserve the environment, or is there another agenda at foot? That's what people are wondering. Personally, I think there's another agenda at foot.
Mhm.
And in particular, that's why, the world would love to see us give up our fossil fuel based economy because they know that would cripple us. And they know they could overtake us economically if we did that. It's just true.
I don't believe that. I believe, if you look at what's going on in China right now, when I first went to China, it's been 20 years ago, people who still
Right.
pedal bicycles, and you go there now, I mean, nobody pedals with bicycles. Rickshaws are even electric powered. They've got 20 different manufacturers over there, including our own U.S. car manufacturers that have an
Good.
electric. And even the Europeans, the Mercedes have partnered with other people there. I mean, it's just BMW. Everybody's got an electric option. And it's very common to see electric cars, electric taxis, electric buses. So they're already making their transition. We're actually kind of behind the eight ball, hanging on to the old technology, you know?
Well, but as far as polluters go, China lags way behind us in pollutants.
Yeah,
Just
I
so
agree.
so at any rate, the point being that what people are worried about, I think, when Biden talks about phasing out, and to be fair to him, I think that's what he's talking about. When he said, I think he said it, kind of ham-handedly there at the end.
Mm-hmm.
We want to get rid of it, and then, because of, right, when he says transition, he needs to clarify what he means by that, to say that, look, we need right now, we need fracking, we need fossil fuels. These are things that our economy, jobs depend on. What we're talking about is going into the future. This is what we're shooting for. More, cleaner energy. We know we're not there yet.
Right.
We've got to make progress. We've got to make steps. We're not going to put any hard deadlines on anything, but we're going to start progressing toward this cleaner version of energy. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I might even look at voting for a Democrat if they said, "Hey, we need to revive the notion of nuclear energy." What is the deal with that? That just continues to boggle my mind as to why not nuclear. That we could replace every coal-fired power plant in the country with nuclear, keep the jobs and everything, and everything would be improved if we did that.
Well, even when earlier we had a population that didn't really care about the environment as much, right? And we didn't have catalytic converters on our cars, and that's when the
Right.
nuclear had its heyday, and everybody was on the nuclear bandwagon. Then, of course, at that time, all the environmentalists were worried about the pollution of nuclear with the waste, and whether it's low-level waste or high-level waste, or where are we going to keep this for 1,000,000 years to make sure everybody's safe? We've had a couple of accidents along the way,
Right.
Chernobyl and Fukushima and all these other things. So everybody's scared of nuclear, but nobody realizes that there's more than 100 nuclear units operating in the United States that you never ever hear about, and they're running.
Right.
And they're
Yep.
having a little bit of a renaissance with nuclear right now because they did grant licenses, and the United States government even backed the loans to put up 2 more in Georgia down
Right.
at Vogel. So they're putting in the 3rd and 4th, which are these brand new AP1000 reactors that were developed to basically go hands off. They shut themselves down, so you don't have to worry about power failures or pumps failing or anything like that.
Yeah.
So much safer
Right.
than we had before, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
but you know who put those up first? Who built
Yeah. The
the
Chinese.
thousands for the Chinese because they
Yeah.
had to do it, right?
Yeah. Well, right. And in some ways, some of the moves I see the Chinese government making are, more venture than, even what we're doing here in the United States, because we're so, everything's becoming so politicized and polarized, and more than anything, it almost seems like we're not so much worried about policy, but what kind of policy is going to keep me in office,
Right.
That would speak to our one party notion, where nobody's worried about staying in office anymore. We've got one guy who's going to stay in office. We've got one party that's going to be in office. And so that's all done. Let's just worry about what's best for everybody, right? That would be an advantage there.
So you could write a 4-year plan every year, tell everybody what you're going to do, and just go out and accomplish it, and then people can grade you on whether you did it or not, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So
anyway.
right. And again, again, like my economist Thomas Sowell says, there's no solution, there's only trade-offs, right? So we're the United States is in a very very unique position where we've got a rugged two-party system, a culture of rugged individualism that has sprouted out of Western liberal democracy and capitalism, and that's going to be a difficult move, which we talked at length about last time. But I think a couple things. Again, one is I am curious as to what's behind the resistance to nuclear among my environmental groups, and why Democrats flatly no nuclear.
Right.
What's going on there?
Well, there's another part about it. When nuclear was in the heyday of nuclear, there were very few regulations. In fact, as I recall, there were only like 13 regulations that governed nuclear power.
Right.
And they built nuclear power plants at that time for hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And
yeah.
Quite a few of them. They were all a lot of them were under construction back in the 70s and 80s. And then they had, even before Chernobyl, they had a couple of releases with accidents. And
right.
they really super regulated the nuclear industry with thousands of regulations. And then to be licensed as a nuclear power plant, now they went through a whole transition they thought the plant was going to cost X, but with the new regulations, it was going to be 10X. I know when I worked in Georgia on Vogtle, the price of that plant for Vogtle 1 and 2 was exactly 10 times what the expected price of it was when it was started. So it makes it really difficult if you don't, to meet all those regulations. And even having the AP1000s out, once the design was done, it had to be approved by the government, even the design. So wait a second, the engineers did a design to make it work, and the government's going to approve what the best engineers did? It's kind of strange, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, but I guess again, my base question is why do environmental groups and the Democrats oppose nuclear? Just carte blanche. That was a topic that came up in the Democratic debates, and nuclear was a question on the table, and virtually every one of the candidates said no nuclear. Yeah. What's the resistance?
I don't think it's a partisan thing between Democrats and Republicans. I think the Republicans also.
Republicans resisted also?
I don't think they're out there, ringing the nuclear bell saying, hey, we got to have power plants.
Well,
here in Ohio, where we had a referendum on bailing out our nuclear power plants, that are on Lake Erie. And now it's turned into a real fiasco with all kinds of other problems.
Yeah. Well, now that you mention that, I agree with you. I think Republicans could be much stronger on nuclear. Mm-hmm. I don't disagree with that. And I mean, let's be real about it. Republican donors, supporters, are fossil fuel based companies that might be nervous about transitioning over to something like that. That's it, for my part. That's not what I fear. I don't, fear the transition. I think the transition can happen. We've seen this throughout human history. We've transitioned from technology to technology to technology. But what I wonder is with the resistance to this, what's the ultimate goal? What are we shooting for here? Because again, I can't get my mind around it. I mean, I've seen some extremist environmental groups say, human beings should not be wielding the power that we're wielding, period. We should not be dominating the planet like we're dominating it. We need to back off and go more back to an agrarian, pre-industrial revolution type of state of being. That's what some extreme environmentalist groups claim.
Yeah,
what's that?
we don't want to live like that. You want to get behind a horse and plow a field? No, it doesn't happen.
Well, yeah, I would think that that wouldn't be that wouldn't be the way to go. So I think, but beyond that, I don't know what the resistance is. I don't know what the resistance is on the Democrat side of the ledger,
Mm-hmm.
because it seems like nuclear would really accomplish, especially with coal. I mean, you could take all the coal workers. Hey, all y'all, we're building coal plants done. We're not going to mine any coal anymore. You don't have to be in the coal mine. Cool. But we got this nuclear plant over here where you can work. I mean, think about, my mom and dad's town, Bay City.
Mm-hmm.
That place is booming down there. You know why? Because they got a nuclear plant.
Mm-hmm.
That's why. That place is a metropolis of economic activity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they're producing the cleanest, safest type of energy that we know of on planet Earth that produces electricity.
Right.
So, hey, all y'all that were working in the coal plants, we're going to, let's transition you over to teach you how to be, whatever technicians in the nuclear plant. Cool with that. So I don't know what's behind the hesitancy behind the Democrats. Now, I know what the hesitancy sometimes is behind the Republicans on it, perhaps, is they want to hang on to the coal and that sort of thing. And we're conservatives by definition, so we're scared of change.
Right.
I get it. Yeah.
Well, I'm certainly not against nuclear power. I've worked in power for years, and I know it's safe. I know that there can be an accident, but I know it's safe. It's built to be safe.
Sure.
Double and triple redundancy and all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I really like solar. The only thing that's bad about solar is you're not able to store it. It doesn't run 24/7. Because basically you got a nuclear reactor in the sky. I mean, Cincinnati just went through where I'm at. Cincinnati they're building a solar farm outside of town here that's going to offset all the power for all the municipal buildings for the entire city of Cincinnati.
Right.
That's a huge step. That's a huge commitment that they're going to do something green, right? And solar now has come down in price so far. Why do we have to have these big mega grids and have a big mega reactor to power all these people, all those extra wires? Why don't we spread that out a little bit, where you have these small solar farms and a smaller grid, and either there are different ways to do batteries or store energy. It's not just with batteries. You can store energy in lots of different ways. So
yeah,
I think there's opportunity
well,
there.
I am absolutely not an authority on this. I don't have all the data, but from the information I've gathered, it just doesn't seem like we can scale solar power like we can nuclear power. I mean, one nuclear power plant can replace how many different coal-fired power plants? It's just you just can't scale. You just can't scale solar and wind like that. I'm not against it.
We scaled coal and gas. Why can't we?
But the thing of it is that fossil fuels scale at an enormous, an enormous rate, infinitely cheaper. I mean, you can build one coal-fired power plant where you have to build, how many different, solar collectors to gather, that at the end of the day, as we've seen in California, where they're having rolling brownouts, where the governor is asking people to, unplug appliances because they're running out of energy and they can't, because it just doesn't scale. Like fossil fuels do.
Well, they're still running on fossil fuels out there. They're not running.
Oh, they are. Right, but they're trying more and more to run on these solar and wind powered resources. They just can't keep up. And so, and again, one or two nuclear plants, one or two, however many nuclear plants would solve that problem instantly.
Well, they've already built in California.
Yeah. So, well, anyway. So yeah, so that's the question I have is, what's behind the resistance to nuclear on the Democrat side, and the rhetoric, even coming from Biden in that debate, seemed comes across as extreme to the average person. Hey, we're going to phase out fossil fuels. We're going to by 2025, by 2030, you start putting these hard dates on it. People start getting very, very nervous about that because hey, this is my livelihood. This is my job. This is how I make money. This is how I provide for my family. You phase these things out prematurely without an adequate replacement, we're going to be in trouble. My job's on the line, and then plus that, most people, and you and I are not most people. You and I have an ability to think long term, and this isn't an insult to anybody else, but I do think that the majority of people don't have an impairment when it comes to thinking long term. So when people start talking about moving toward more environmentally friendly energy sources, that makes them nervous because they have a hard time thinking long term. And you've got to be very, very careful about, okay, if we're going to talk about phasing out fossil fuels, what does that look like? We've got to have a very, very, very detailed and meticulous plan as to how that's going to go. And that job you have as a coal miner or a coal worker or an oil field roughneck or whatever the case may be, what's going to happen to that job, over the course of our transition plan? Well, here's our game plan. So that's where I thought Biden was weak in the debate. The Democrat plan seems very abrupt and aggressive toward fossil fuels and toward a lot of the a lot of the jobs, especially in Western Pennsylvania. And what frustrates me about Biden is when he's standing before somebody who he thinks is pressing him hard on fracking. Are you going to get rid of fracking? Are you going to Of course I'm going to get rid of fracking. Of course I'm going to get rid of fracking. We're going to ban fracking on all public lands. We're not going to give any new leases. We're not going to subsidize. When he's before the audience that thinks that he thinks wants to hear that, he has no problem just blurting that out.
Right.
And when he's before the audience that he's not quite sure wants to hear that, and then he doesn't. He is a little more hesitant and a little more blundering. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I've been talking a long time. Go ahead.
As a politician, he's gonna play to the crowd, right? He has to know his audience and everything else. It's like Trump this morning. His whole Twitter feed is full of Biden saying he's going to ban fracking. A whole bunch of snippets. Many of them are out of context because I've seen a couple of them before. He's just a little bit that he wanted to try to do some mudslinging, but that's okay. That's just politics. Sure. Trump says he's not a politician, but he certainly is a politician now. He learned very quickly over the last 4 years or 5 years since he started running what he has to do to be a politician and transition into that role. But I don't know he's really transitioned that good because the first thing they talked about in the debate, I'm going to switch gears on you here a little bit.
Sure, yeah, no problem.
The thing that I'm probably the most upset about is the coronavirus. And I just think that we've never had a national plan. I think Biden pointed that out very clearly. Biden coming back in and saying, geez, I can save the day by just telling everybody to wear masks. It's a little disingenuous. I get that. But what we should have had is a leader that led us that said, I don't care if you're riding the Trump train or whatever train you're on, you need to wear, you need a social distance from day one. I'm not he shouldn't have said, well, the governors are all taking care of it. And there have been this cloak of secrecy between all the states. So everybody can point at the other person and say, geez, I don't have anything going on over here. So I don't have to wear a mask. You know what I mean? It was just a whole disjointed. I just thought it was just a show, like a celebrity show or something. So I hope that we can pull this back out because most of the countries have. I mean, Trump keeps saying, well, geez, they're having these Europe's falling apart again. They're having a third wave and all. We're having a big wave right now. I mean, yesterday we had the most cases ever since this thing started in one day. I agree with Trump in one way as he says, well, it's because we do the best testing. Okay, we're testing more, but you know what? We weren't testing near adequate enough, and you're comparing it against something when we weren't testing adequately. They say that there's better results now for people. I mean, our hospital, not just our cases are going up, hospitalizations are going up, deaths are going up. it's not, I mean, we're still losing 1,000 people a day. 1,000 people a day, 365 days a year. We're looking at 300,000 people in a year. That's totally unacceptable, especially in other countries. And I like to cherry pick too, just like he does. I'll pick on, New Zealand that's had
Yeah.
25 deaths out of 5 million people. I guess their
Yeah.
number is a little better than ours, or Taiwan, where they had like 11 deaths out of, 30 million people. And they're right on the back door of China over there. I mean, and then for him to keep blaming China by calling, well, when China unleashed the flu, they didn't unleash the flu, all right? They didn't
Mm.
plant it anywhere. They didn't do anything to unleash it. I mean, it's almost as bad if you could imagine if the rest of the world would say the H1N1, everybody's familiar with that. They call
Yeah.
it the swine flu, but that was originated in America. Imagine if the rest of the world called it the American pig flu and said that it's
Yeah.
all you guys' fault that whatever happened with the H1N1 around the world, it's all America's fault. No, that's not the way it works. We have a very global society. There's a lot of people that travel. Those things move around the world quicker than anybody can ever catch them. So then you have to be on a defensive posture to inform your people, let your people make the changes they need to. And it's obviously paid off in other countries that are fully open, where we're still wearing masks everywhere we go, and we can't go to a movie. I can't go to a restaurant. I haven't been out to a restaurant since February. I mean, other than going and getting takeout.